How does a veteran note investor look at the business many years later? Stay tuned. Welcome to this week's edition of Note School TV. Well, where every week, yes, we bring you the most amazing content as well as the most amazing guests. And today is no different. We are carrying on the tradition this week with, well, we're having another one of our case study finalists from NoteExpo. And we'll have this gentleman on in just a few minutes. But before we do that, several things. Number one, make sure and hit the like button, like this episode. Make sure and share it with your friends, guys. I'm sure this would mean a lot to a lot of the folks that are out there in your network, and we would certainly appreciate you doing so. Make sure and subscribe if you have not already done so. Subscribe to the Note School TV channel. And then finally, hit that bell notification. Boom, hit it so that you'll know when we go live when? Every Wednesday at 11:05 Central Time. Also, please continue to send in your comments. We love hearing from you. We love hearing what's going on in your market, what you think of that week's episode, and our guests as well. So keep doing that. And also, one other thing, if you want to know more about what we do at Note School, simply go to noteschool.com/TV, and we would love to have a conversation with you. And we'll talk a little more about how to attend one of our Note School master classes, 2-hour master classes. We'll talk about that at the end of the show as well. With that, I am going to bring on, well, our Chief Visionary Officer, founder of Note School, all-around good guy, Mr. W. Eddie Speed.
Good morning, Joe.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good. It is a beautiful weather here in Florida. And I'm assuming it is in the Big D as well in Dallas.
Yeah, it is. The fall is, I always think, the prettiest time of year. Spring is pretty, but it can have really rough thunderstorms and stuff. But the fall is, we're a little bit late. So if you're up north, you're not used to it being so late. But, it can be, mid 60s and kind of in the 40s at night. And it is that. And, as you know, I do a lot of outdoorsy stuff, and I got to hang out this past weekend and got to do that, and probably will a little bit this weekend. So it's my time of year. It's not 109, and I get to go enjoy outside with my family.
Well, did you build a fire in the big fire pit back there?
We did.
Good.
Guaranteed. Oh yeah.
That's absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Eddie, let's look at the news this week. We've got there's a lot of interesting things going on, but let's kind of bring those slides up, and we'll talk about that a bit. So I thought this one was kind of I'll use the big word, innocuous, right? Not a whole lot of no controversy here. So the three housing market predictions for this month, and we're already, I know, a few days into November, but just remember that, of course, could continue to rise. That's pretty easy, Eddie.
Yeah. I tell you, I think a lot of people are calling for a flat market. I think we've seen a lift this year that we didn't think we were going to see, but there, I know Fannie Mae and a lot of predictors in the market are basically calling for flat. So that number two could be an argument as to what happens in the market. No, I don't see the resi market having a big giant dent in it.
No,
because of inventory. Builders have more inventory than people think. This is the deal, Joe. We have a shortage of inventory.
That's right. We
have a bigger shortage or equal shortage of people that can afford it.
That's it.
That's where we're at in the market with the resi space. That's not true in the commercial space. That's true in the resi space.
That's for sure. Experts are calling November the hardest month this year to buy a house. So I guess with all the things that are happening, this just came out, Eddie, from Goldman Sachs. And so the current distribution of mortgage rates. And you can kind of look over here, and here's almost 15%. Actually, it's much more than that. 15% have the 2.75 or less. And then which totals quite a bit, but the current rate is over here. So, yep. So that's what that looks like. This one is a little easier to read here. And this is just the monthly mortgage payments from, 1989 to 2023. This doesn't go back to 1980, Eddie, when the mortgage rates were 18%. This started out in 89. And so you can kind of see the progression there.
Well, you see those spikes up clearly that started, in 21. And then you see those spikes up, and then now this last spike up and stuff. And so this is what everybody's talking about. This is the reason that we have a shortage of houses. People are scared to sell because what would I do and where would I move? And I can't afford the next house and all that. We kind of know that to be the case. And so it's an interesting time. Home builders do have some inventory that we've talked about in previous shows. I would pay attention to that. Joe, I'm going to say this. We are looking at a very good inventory of non-performing residential loans in front of us.
We are.
The most I've ever seen in a stable real estate market in my 43 years. I've seen more inventory.
Right.
But in a real estate market that was dropping like a knife.
Right. Yes, that's right.
We've never seen such an inventory of non-performing notes that are coming over the mountain into the market in this market condition. And the case study finalist we're going to have today is going to talk about a non-performing note. And it's a pretty blighted property deal. So,
and Eddie, I want to just throw one that you were talking about non-performing loans. And I thought I was just looking at my phone. I had taken some notes from one of the panels at NoteExpo. And one of the experts had said there are 500,000 reverse mortgages that the owner has passed over the last 2 years that were guaranteed by the GSEs, but those banks don't want them. And this NPL we talk about today will be, it's in that vein, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of heckums,
Joe.
And these are reverse mortgages. We have some unique connections in the business.
Yes.
And so we've kind of been to school on the heckums to make sure that we understand the differences. And I think we do. And I think we're pretty squared away. And we are looking at that. So this will be that kind of a case study. And don't be scared. Not all of them are going to be as wild as this story, but this story is going to be a great story. You're going to love it.
But the price is right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, Eddie, why don't we bring on our guests?
Let's do it. Longtime friend, Note School member, and a good guy, been a good industry go-giver in many ways. We have become long friends with him from the beautiful state of Michigan. You guys welcome Mr. Keith Payan.
Hey. Hi, Eddie.
Hello. By the way, a few days delayed. Happy Veterans Day.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
You spent many years dedicating your life to protecting us, sir.
Yes, sir. I had 40 years in service and retired about 10 years ago. And actually, that's kind of when I curtailed into the note business.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your service. We are all grateful to you. And very, very grateful that you served us, sir.
Oh, Keith, and I didn't know they had let folks that are 10 years old join.
Yeah. Yeah.
Keith, we have had a variety of guests on this show, and you've been on here before with us for sure, but we've had a variety of guests. Sometimes we'll bring somebody that they've just gotten started. They're in their first 90 days in the business and they just bought some notes, right? Mm-hmm. And they're a realtor. They're a busy 9-to-5er. They're a former person that probably would have been a landlord. They're something, right? Maybe they've never even owned property at all. They just chased notes because they thought they were easier than, and they're right. They're easier than owning property. Mm-hmm. But you came to us kind of similar, but way back. And that is you were a realtor. You were a real estate investor. And the market was changing 10 years ago because the inventory of REO was drying up and you saw the non-performing. And so you hooked up with us a long time ago. So thank you for that.
Yep.
I wanted to ask you, like, what were you, what, you know, you were a specialist, REO agent, which a lot of people from Note School had that history. What were you looking for?
Well, I still do all those things you talked about, but I do them. It's like shuffling a deck of cards. You spend your time where you're making some progress, and the market is ever changing, as you know. So you got to be very flexible on what you do. When I came to Note School, I was the REO market was drying up and left me a lot of time, and the market itself was pretty hard. So I got into the note space. Went through all your training, and I've done pretty well.
You have done really well.
Yeah, I think I have right now maybe 40 performing notes that I manage, and a couple non-performing I'm working on. But one thing I gotta say was what made me decide to go into the Note School is 10 years ago. Well, now I'm 65, so I was 55 then. And I realized I didn't have 10 years to learn the business. Now, I don't know if you know this, Eddie, but the things that you teach, you can find all kinds of different places, but it's tough to put them all together so you can use them. So I found great value in aligning myself with people that understand the business, know the shortcuts, because although you have to make a financial investment, you make one wrong move trying to do it yourself and you're behind a power curve, and it's going to take you. I don't think I'd have the knowledge anywhere close to that I have now if I try to do it myself. So it's just kind of a one-stop shop, and in the 100 years you got in your office of experience definitely helps.
Well, I mean, we talk about this a lot. We talk about the fact that, you can't find this level of resources in any other specialized school. I go to some events that are like real estate info marketer specialist events, right? And I hear people say you can get anything that you want to do on YouTube, and I'm going, that's probably not true in the note business, right? There's some people in there that are saying things, but you probably could not learn what you need to learn on YouTube. You might learn flipping houses. That could definitely be a truth, right? But it's not a truth in this. And we saw that need, and I appreciate it. We've gotten the pleasure and the honor of being able to train some really, really seasoned people, Keith, like you, right? I mean, you did not come to us as a rookie, but you came to us willing to be a sponge, say, I'm trainable, and you've run with it. So impressed with time and time again the stuff you've done. So a pleasure to get to hang out. You have very kindly embraced some of our charities and very generously done that. So you've proven to be a go-giver. You've been a go-giver in our Seller Finance Coalition. So anyway, just a fun ride, right? I wanted to talk a little bit about when you came to Note School. There was something, though, beyond, what Note School could help you learn, right? Income-wise, what was it you were trying to accomplish?
Well, anybody that works for a living works for a paycheck, and next week you got to go work for that paycheck again. And I was looking for a sustainable long-term income that my money worked for me, so I didn't have to put the hours in. And the note business is a perfect place to do that, and something that you can get more than what the banks, the banks are averaging maybe 1 or 2% yield on money, where you can do considerably better on in the notes. And it's very secure, and if you do it right, I see very little downside to it.
Whether you have a 9-to-5 W-2 job, or whether you're a real estate broker or a deal maker of any kind, what you want to be able to do is have your living made on January 1st of every year. That's what you're saying. You got enough mailbox money coming in, your living is made. And if you want to go chase another deal, you can do it because it's fun.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of, you asked before about my business model, and that kind of curtails into it because what I've worked for the last 10 years, I can reap some of the benefits now. So my business model has kind of changed. It's the what model. I do what I want, when I want, and if I want. Yeah. So,
that's great. Say that again.
What I want, when I want, and if I want.
The want model.
The want model, right?
There you go.
So
I love it. I want to say one more thing before we look at your case study, and that is I got the nicest text from you one morning with a picture. Mm-hmm. And it was a picture of you in Italy, and you were taking a picture on a gondola with your beautiful wife. Yeah. And you said, I want to thank you for getting me in this business. And I didn't go put this on social media. I didn't go I know people do that, but I just want to thank you because I want to tell you something. You made my day.
That's great. Well, you know what? There was a reason why I was there, and Note School is a big part of it. And honestly, this case study we're going to go through, I took the profits of that and I went to Italy with them. I mean,
how long were you there, Keith?
I'm sorry?
How long were you there?
I was there 18 days.
There you go.
Well, that's an awesome story. So you guys are going to get to see the deal. Now, let me say this deal had a little hair on it, right? Yeah. You guys are going to get to see the case study. So every year, Note School has a competition amongst its members. We have 3 categories. We have performing notes, non-performing notes, and then we have also creating, buying, and selling properties with creative terms. And so Keith has been on stage, a winner with us. I mean, like, he is no rookie to this. He has been a gamer on our Note School members for a long time. Once again, he brought a great deal, a great case study. And so we did this on stage at our NoteExpo and our appreciation event. So Keith, we thought it'd be fun to go through it with you today.
Sure. Yeah. It'd be a lot of fun.
So there we are.
Yeah, I'm good looking, Eddie. I didn't know that I was that good looking.
Yeah, I look like I'm really having to concentrate there, Keith. You see what I'm saying?
Well, Eddie, our cameraman that didn't get there was a bunch of pictures, but that was kind of the best of the best. So.
No, that's okay. I'm not photogenic like my wife. I'm okay with that, right? All right. So Joe, let's click through the slides here, and then so Keith, this was a house, and correct me if I'm wrong, this was a reverse mortgage?
Yes, it was. It was a reverse mortgage that was already in the foreclosure process. It was well into the foreclosure process. Actually, the sheriff sale was actually scheduled already in a couple months when I first bought this property.
And Keith, the picture of the outside of this house doesn't do it justice, does it?
Well, that's what you're buying, though. You can see how nice a house it can be.
That's it.
They owed $170,000. So this was a HECM, right? A reverse mortgage. Mm-hmm. And so
Keith, clicking all these in at once. So there you go.
Yeah. So I really think when you first a group had these assets, this was not our asset. Mm-hmm. And you knew them from the past, and then they offered it to you for what, 65? Is that right?
Yeah, I had put a indicative bid in for 65, just looking at a tape, and they said, "Well, let's see what happens." I said, "Send me the BPO pictures and the BPO," and then that's when the top popped off the can. Once I looked at the pictures, that was enough. That was right on the corner.
So, and Eddie Lane, huh?
Yep. So
there's a little bit of an issue, seems like.
Yeah, that's the living room. And what's happened with this house, just so you put it in context, is the people died, and obviously the house went vacant. The daughters and all the sons didn't want the house. They tried messing around with a little bit, but it stayed vacant, and the pipe underneath the house broke, and the well pumped for a period of time. The farmer saw that there's water just blasting out of everything. So that's what made the house real wet. and then a tree fell on the roof and popped a hole in the roof. So it sat there and just got saturated inside and out. And one thing's for sure, when you put water in a house, it's going to mold.
Yeah. Now, Keith, I'm sure you took that couch there. I'm sure you took that home, didn't you?
Yeah, I got that right over here, in my waiting room.
So looking at the pictures, so really, here's what's interesting. The seller probably knew there was a problem. And maybe they did, maybe they didn't, but when you pointed it out to them, it was like there was no way of denying it, correct?
Yeah, so the asset manager saw the pictures the same time I did, and I called him back and said, hey, I told you 65 because I thought I could get 100 for a house, if it was in passable condition as it was. And I said, I wouldn't give you $5,000 for that. and he said, well, wait a minute, let me take that to the boss. So 2 days later, he called me back. He says, we can't take 5, but we'll take 7. I said, well, okay, I think I'll do 7. I can do $7,000.
Yeah. So not many people are going to buy a defaulted loan in today's marketplace for $7,000, right?
Right. Now the house had challenges. What I did once I made the deal, and we after the sheriff's sale, there was still a redemption period, but there was a shortened redemption period because the house was vacant. But I didn't wait for that. I went and gutted the house out as soon as I could get in there. I actually had a local guy I found at a local church that they were looking for some work. This is a very rural area. It's I think the whole county's maybe 1,600 in the entire county. So I went and called a couple local churches, had 2 people willing to work for me, and I gutted the entire house down to the studs for $2,500. And that's the first thing you got to do to get it to start drying out. Patch the roof, and gutted the house out. And this was about last April, I think it was, right? In April or March. And so once I got through the sheriff's sale, I put a sign out in front of the house and had a buyer lined up within a few days, selling it as is with the work that needed to be done. And I first made a contract price for $40,000 with them. And a couple days before closing, he said, hey, how about a cash price? So I gave him 10% off, and I was sure happy to take $36,000. And I think I was in and out of the deal in 60 days at the most.
Yeah. So you were going to owner finance them.
Yeah, I was going to owner finance them. I was going to right because you know what? I find it real easy to get the best price for any piece of property you're selling if you're willing to hold the paper at least for a while.
Yeah. So
and again, you're going to find people that are maybe not bankable, but that's the business. If you get enough down payment and you have enough equity in the deal, it's still a good deal.
Yeah.
And Keith, you had this fella, he goes in and they pull out all the drywall, all of the insulation, all of the flooring. They completely gutted it out and got it dried out. So it was like there was no threat of mold anywhere in that house.
There were still problems. There's still mold that had to be remediated, but the first step is you gut it out. You let the house dry out, put a good roof on it. Then you go through and you power wash the inside, let it dry out, and then you paint it. You just get paint and you paint it. You're sealing anything that might be of a hazard into the wood, and you're good to rebuild it. He plans on living there himself. He's redoing it for himself.
Good.
You took a deal and transcended it, and now somebody's got home ownership at a price that otherwise they couldn't probably have been able to do it.
No, he would have never been able to get in a house. So he put his hard work and labor and into it, and he's got a house for as long as he needs it.
How long did you own the note before it went to the foreclosure sale?
Oh, it went to the foreclosure sale probably 30 days at the most.
Yep. So you didn't own this very long. So this is a pattern that we keep talking about. And that is these lenders are not going to take them all the way through to foreclosure.
I think that they're afraid of a deal like this. You know, the big boys, they sit around a table and they wonder what they can wonder or worry about.
The big boys wouldn't have fixed this, Keith.
Oh no, they wouldn't. No.
They wouldn't have gone and found this Amish family and went and, you know, took all the stuff out of the house. They wouldn't have written resourced that and made that deal.
Nope, you're right.
That deal needed an entrepreneur in the middle of it.
Yep.
Yep. So you made $24,000 on a $10,000 investment in how long?
I think it was 60 days. It says 90, but I think it was 60 days.
Well, you bought at the end of January.
Hey, that's too much profit. I don't want to talk about this anymore.
Eddie, can you help me? What's the yield on this one?
Enough.
Hold on.
Yeah. Yeah, very high.
Very high. Yeah.
Keith, that's great. You're such a deal maker. You've done so many different things. And I wanted the audience, I want to remind you that Keith said he owns 40 performing notes. So he's not just done non-performing. And we're talking a lot about these HECM loans today, these reperforming. We've got kind of some industry connections in the space. Doesn't mean that we're not going to go have to pay what the market is, but it means, you know, a lot of that business is driven by people with trusted relationships, trusted backgrounds. And so we're pretty fired up. We don't think they're all going to look like this. But one thing about it is when the house is vacated, you can go look inside before you actually buy it. And Keith knew that.
Yep.
And so it's different than buying a loan that is occupied, right?
Mm-hmm.
Keith, this is awesome. It's an awesome story. And yeah, I wanted to look down memory lane a few years ago before the virus. Joe and I were at a live class, and you brought your whole family.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
And, you know, and then I later got to meet your son-in-law. He came to another class. Mm-hmm. He's a rancher, but is a real rancher, right? I'm an ex-rancher, right, so to speak, but he's the real deal.
Yeah.
And we had a fun time with him. And just really, you know, what I would say is that your vision is that you want your family to understand these strategies, not that they've got to go do it necessarily full-time for a living, but just the opportunity because of it.
Well, you know, one thing that you bring that up, and I was talking not only this is not only my thoughts, but there's a lot of folks within Note School. For example, the Legrees, you know, Brian Legree. I was talking to them, and we share the same goals. We're all getting up in age now, and it's like, well, I want to drag my kids in this. I want to, you know, they got to understand it. So when I decide, or when the Lord decides to take me out of here, you know, you got somebody else that has a little bit of knowledge on how to, you know, keep the ball rolling.
Well, and here's the thing about it, Keith. It's in my story, right? You know, my kids, you know, don't necessarily work. Most of my kids don't work full-time in the business with us, and that's okay. I've got a son that's a fireman. I've got a daughter that's a professional ballet dancer. I've got another son that lives in, you know, kind of a remote area in Louisiana, you know, and all that means that they can go do other things, and notes become an investment strategy, not necessarily a business they got to go grind at.
That's it.
And I think that's the truth in your family.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, and you know, Miss Virginia Rogers, she had her, I don't know if you saw it, she had her grandson there, 20 years old, wanting to start, you know, that's kind of when we started, Eddie, right?
Well, it is, and we've got a long history in it. And, you know, I got my dad in the business when he was 68 years old, and so we can all relate. Keith, this is, gosh, we could, if we had 100 episodes of Note School TV, I don't think we could get through all of Keith's case studies, Joe.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, it's fun. It's something. It's something. Once you get into it, it drives you to try to get through it, and you know, solve. It's problem solver. You're solving problems all the way through.
I wanted to read this. You did a little bit of a write-up before we started. You said the first 6 or 7 years I was very aggressive buying notes and without partners. the last 3 or 4, I've changed my model. Now it is the want model. I want to do it. When do I want to do it? Yep. And if I want to do it. And I'm just repeating back what you already said earlier, because there's so many people, Keith, that you see coming to Note School today, and they're veterinarians, and they're busy realtors, and they're not people with 9 to 5, executives and stuff. They have some money, and probably 2 years ago they were buying rentals, and today they figured out we've got a big inventory of notes and a big opportunity. So,
yeah, for sure,
Keith, we enjoyed so much getting to hang out with you, sir.
Well, thank you. And I want to correct what you said. It's I do what I want, when I want, and if I want.
What you want
model.
I love it. It's what I want for every student. It's so fun to be able to hang out with somebody that years ago that started with this. The market was changing and you needed to make a change, right? Well, I think that's true today, don't you, Keith?
Yeah. You know what's interesting though, Eddie? You know how I started? One note at a time.
There you go.
I bought the first one, and after that one, I bought another one. And one time I actually bought 6 at a time. So
yeah.
That's what you do.
Well, Keith, there's an old Eddieism that says, how do you learn this business? One thin layer of paint at a time.
Yep.
That's it. Yeah, we didn't Note School didn't have all these fancy done for you services like we have now back then, do they, Keith?
No. And you know what? That's another thing that I had talked to a few people at the expo, and I'm talking about some seasoned guys that don't need you to do that work for them, but they all found great value in it. They really did. There's probably about 3 different people unsolicited talk to me about it.
People want their time back, Keith.
Yeah.
And we looked at, all this team that you talked about, this 100 and something years worth of experience around here. And, and so we could make people more confident. We could make them more satisfied with what we could do. And so always a pleasure, Keith, to catch up with you and really always understand from all of our students, what is it that you want? Like if we're listening and we're figuring out what you want, we're going to figure out a way to figure out how we can work with you and get that. You're an action taker. And, if you're in the teaching business, you'll take that every time, right?
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
For sure.
All right. Mr. Keith Payan, he is from the beautiful state of Michigan and a veteran. You got to hear a veteran today that has done it for a long time and very well. And he now has adopted the want strategy, right?
It's a want model.
There you go.
All right, Keith. Thank you so much, sir.
Thanks, guys.
Joe, I'll let you close us out.
All righty. Well, thanks, guys, for being on with us today. Again, another great episode. And Keith is an inspiration to a lot of folks at Note School and hopefully a lot of you now. So, again, if you want to learn more about what we do at Note School, simply go to noteschool.com/TV. Again, noteschool.com/TV. And guys, Eddie has made it really super simple for you to attend one of our 2-hour master classes to learn more about what we do and the opportunities that we have there, have here at Note School. And so if you would like to attend that, well, the price is right. We'll just invite you, and Eddie is picking up the tab for that. So again, just go to noteschool.com/TV and put in would love to attend a master class, and we'll get you in the next one that we have available. That's it. We will see you next week. So have a great rest of the week and take care.